Just a few days ago, I uploaded a video titled The Missing Super Mario Maker 2 Update, and in that video I talked about Super Mario Maker 2's multiplayer with friends update that Nintendo had announced on June 11th of this year, but then never released and we didn't get any information on it, and I talked about how weird it was that that update had seemingly, gone missing. And then less than 24 hours after that video, out of the middle of literally nowhere, Nintendo releases this update. They don't announce it in a direct, obviously, they don't even drop a trailer, there's no announcement on YouTube or anything, just a tweet about it, and they mentioned it in the patch notes for the game. Besides that, you wouldn't have even known this update came out, because Nintendo didn't announce it prior. They literally just less than 24 hours after I make an entire video about how this update is missing, Nintendo's just like, oh yeah, here it is. It's almost as if they forgot about the update and just remembered, oh yeah, we have to release this, well here you go, because it's just weird. Like, everyone thought it was weird that they announced that and released that with just no build up whatever. It was just a weird situation. But now I'm making a video about missing DLC for other games, because hell, if Nintendo updates Super Mario Maker 2 less than 24 hours after I make a video talking about it, then surely all these games will get DLC less than 24 hours from now, right? Okay, obviously that's not going to happen, and in fact, I don't think any of these games are going to get DLC. However, I wish they all did, because they're great titles that just left me wanting more for one reason or another, and obviously that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So hey guys, it's Thomas from The Switched Up, and welcome to the Switch games that should have gotten DLC. So starting off, we have the game that is probably on the thumbnail and by far the game that people think about the most when people think about how it needed DLC. That didn't really make sense. I'm talking about Super Mario Party. Super Mario Party was a really solid foundation for a game. I mean, the graphics were nice, the core gameplay was better than like Super Mario Party 10, or no, just Mario Party 10. Overall, Super Mario Party had a lot of people excited. However, the fact that it only had 4 boards is just really, it's so devastating, because there were so many characters, and the characters had unique dice blocks, and the boards that were in the game weren't that bad. It just, it makes me long for the days of even like Mario Party 8. You got boards such as Koopa's Tycoon Town, that board was a jam. You got that one Donkey Kong one that was like super vertical, that one was cool too. Like, that game and like most of the games before it all had great boards, and then Super Mario Party's here with 4 mediocre ones. It's just, supposedly data miners found like DLC in the game, but then turns out they didn't. I don't really know what was going on with that. That's not really what I'm talking about. I just really wish that this game got DLC in the form of extra boards or new content or something. But they're probably saving all that for a sequel, which will make them a lot more money, so I can't blame them business-wise. But as a consumer, it just, that game fell so flat for me, and so many others, and DLC really would have fixed it. Alright, that was by far the game that needed DLC the most, so I spent the most time talking about it. These next games are going to be kind of a lightning round in comparison. Super Mario Odyssey was already a very complete game. It had a load of content for $60, and it did technically get an update in the form of Luigi's Balloon World, but paid DLC in the form of Isle Delfino was what everyone was really looking for, like brand new kingdoms with new moons, new costumes, new all of that, new challenges, new everything. With a game as good as Mario Odyssey, with a core mechanic so invigorating, with a moveset so exciting, you just can't help but want more, and it feels like the developers barely scratched the surface of Cappy's capture mechanic, which is why it's so exciting. I got the same feeling from the Galaxy games, and they eventually made Galaxy DLC, which transformed into Super Mario Galaxy 2, so one can only hope they're doing the exact same thing with Odyssey. But yeah, Odyssey DLC would have been awesome. I guess to sort of round things out in the form of Mario games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was an amazing game. It's by far the most complete Mario Kart, and I've actually been playing it pretty much ever since its release. Like most Switch games, I'll play for a while, put in like a cartridge case or archive on my Switch, and not really play again. But Mario Kart, I mean, it's Mario Kart, I don't need to explain it. It's one of those games you always pop in and play. I'm even a big fan of Mario Kart Tour. I've got a video about that coming out like soon-ish, but that's not what we're talking about now. Anyway, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had me so excited because before the game's release, there was like this leak sort of thing. I think it was like a supposed GameStop cover art leak, and on the cover art, it said something like a brand new battle mode and 16 brand new tracks. And that just got me so hyped because I was like, let's go. Like, obviously the leak could be fake, but I got super excited. And then we saw that there was a brand new battle mode, and I was like, oh my god, this leak is actually real. We're getting 16 new tracks, and the leak just correctly guessed the new battle mode, but didn't guess the 16 new tracks right, and it wasn't real, and we didn't get 16 new tracks, and I was sad. Obviously, I would love 16 new tracks. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of my favorite games of all time. It's already got so much content, it doesn't really need 16 new tracks, but once again, this is my list. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I just want more content. We even technically did get an update for it in the form of Breath of the Wild Link, which is such a random, bizarre update, but a costume for the normal Link character, just replacing his model with the Breath of the Wild model, that was added along with the Master Cycle Zero and a set of wheels and a glider, all for Breath of the Wild. But yeah, that doesn't really count. I'm talking about new cups and that sort of thing. That would have been awesome, but unfortunately never got it. Okay, this one's a bit weird, but Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. These games had a lot of content, they were really fun, and I think overall really solid remakes of, well, I think specifically Pokemon Yellow, but the first generation as a whole. However, the mechanics of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are more or less kind of being ditched now in terms of the mainline games. We are obviously getting Sword and Shield coming in just a month now. And on top of that, we're probably going to get a Sinnoh remake, or a pair of Sinnoh remakes coming 2020, which means the next possible time we could get an installment in the Let's Go side series, if we ever get another Let's Go game, would be 2021, and that's pretty far away. I don't really know how you would add in DLC for a remake of a game that came out like over decades ago, but if they really wanted to go all out with it, they could remake maybe like the second generation in the same sort of art style, and instead of package it as a new game, just, you know, give it as like $30 DLC. Even when I say it, it sounds ridiculous. That would be stupid, and probably they could make so much more money by just selling it as a new game. So maybe not doing that exact thing, but adding DLC to that game would be awesome, because Pokemon games often have a ton of replayability, but Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, I was able to complete the entire Pokédex within like less than 40 hours, and I really liked the mechanics of that game. I actually enjoyed the Pokemon Go style, and I enjoyed the fact that Pokemon appeared in the overworld. So yeah, I'd love any sort of more content for that game. Once again, they're potentially, hopefully working on Let's Go, I don't know, whatever the next Pokemon Let's Go games end up being. But in the meantime, some DLC would have been nice, considering that game was relatively low on content. So that's been 4 games. The last game I want to talk about, though, is once again another weird one. I realized that a lot of the games I've been talking about are never going to get DLC and probably shouldn't, and it makes a lot more sense from a business perspective to give them a sequel instead. However, obviously, as a consumer, a sequel is a lot more expensive. I know it probably makes more sense to say the games that I want to get sequels, but I'm just listing it as DLC because it's my list, I can do whatever I want. Okay, so now that we're done with that tangent, the last game, the 5th game on this list, it's one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Obviously, this game is a port, so when I first heard it announced, there was not a single thought in my mind about DLC. However, then Captain Toad Treasure Tracker not only got a free multiplayer update, but a brand new special episode of paid DLC. So, I mean, it's more than possible. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one of the greatest 2D platformers to ever exist. I put it up there with Super Mario All-Stars, Rayman Legends, and Celeste in the pantheon of my favorite platformers of all time. 2D platformers, that is. It's a truly phenomenal experience, and every level tells an individual story that is brimming with color and personality. Not to mention the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack. I would wager to bet that a solid third of my videos use Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze music in the background because it's just that good. You know what? I'll even switch to some right now. But seriously, Retro Studios, who obviously developed Tropical Freeze, has literally been doing nothing for the past few years. Okay, that's definitely not true, they've definitely been doing something, but whatever they've been doing has not been in the public eye. Tropical Freeze came out in, 2014? And then they've literally been credited on like 0 projects since then. They are now currently working on Metroid Prime 4, but I believe that they only started working on that when they scrapped the entire project earlier in 2019. So what were they doing for those 5 years? Maybe they helped port over Tropical Freeze and add in Funky Kong, but that's not nearly 5 years of work. Whether they were working on that rumored new single-player IP, a sequel to Tropical Freeze to complete the modern DKC trilogy, that rumored Star Fox racing game, or literally just any title, Retro Studios is a jam. They are so good that I just would love to see more content. But yeah, they were working on something, we don't know what it was, but they've probably had time to work on some Tropical Freeze DLC. I mean, they're listed in the credits of the Tropical Freeze port as helping to handle the port conversion and actually adding in Funky Kong, so they've worked on the game relatively recently. And as I mentioned earlier, Nintendo isn't against adding in DLC for ports. They even did so with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. So it's 100% possible that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze would have gotten DLC at some point. However, then Retro Studios took on the role of, developing Metroid Prime 4. So I'm pretty sure Donkey Kong DLC is taking a bit of a backseat. But yeah, I would have loved to see it because that game is amazing and deserves all the love in the world. Please go play it if you haven't. Thank you. Speaking of thank you guys so much for watching. This video probably seemed like it lacked structure at some points, and that's because it did. I just really wanted to talk about these 5 games and adding in new content for them, and this seemed like the perfect place to do so. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It does help us here at the Switch Stop out a lot. If you made it this far in the video, I assume you enjoyed it, so subscribing if you are new is the best way you can help the channel. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Your support means the world. I'm Thomas from the Switch Stop signing off. Peace.